Hello everyone, my name is Chiama Archie, and today I'm going to be doing my December favorite. Hello, this is Eden Chiama here. I have no idea why I keep saying December favorites. This is obviously not my December favorites, this is my December TBR. I think I just got done watching a favorites video, so December favorites was in my head, but this is my December TBR. My apologies for the slip. Thank you. So usually for my December favorites, I always do the releases for that year that I didn't get through during the year. So it'd be the 2024 releases that I bought or got from the library that I haven't finished or that I want to finish, or it'd be something on the Goodreads Choice Awards, but we're not going to talk about that travesty. But today I'm going to be doing December favorites differently because I'm unhauling over 100 books, and these are the books I'm on the fence on whether or not I should unhaul because I need to stop keeping books around if I had them for years and I'm not going to keep them. But these are the books that made it to the unhaul bin, but I also still want to see what's going on. So this is kind of my last ditch effort to see if they should be unhauled or if I should read them. Very long disclaimer, that's what my December favorites are about. There are not going to be too many new releases. Really, kind of, some of these are pretty old releases actually, but I need to get to them. So the first book I'm going to be reading in this December is Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. This isn't a book that I was actually going to unhaul. It's just a book that I need to get to because it's an old book, it's an older book, and I need to start reading from the back in terms of years of my TBR instead of pulling from the most recent, because then this just gets older and older and I don't know if it'll stand the test of time. But this is Razorblade Tears. Basically, this is about a father who learns that his son and his husband have been killed from the cops, and him and the father of the son, his son's husband, embark on kind of like a quest to find out why their children were killed and kind of get revenge. And also, so it's this revenge plot as well as this mystery on why these two men were killed, why these two boys are killed, and their father's embarking on the journey to find out why. This is one of my sister's favorite books. We have completely opposite tastes in books 100%, but it sounded really, it sounded like a good book, and I need to prioritize it because it's pretty old actually. I don't know if it's pretty old. It's 2021. It's not that old, but 2025 is 2 days away. It's not, but it's pretty much a hop, skip, and a jump away, so I need to read books that are about to be 4 to 5 years old. That's it. The next book is Black Girls Die Exhausted, or Black Girls Must Die Exhausted by Jane Allen. I saw this book 121 times at Target. It would always be just front and center in Target book section. Like, they really want you to know we got diversity here. Yeah, so I saw the title, Black Girls Must Die Exhausted. It did not seem fun. It did not, and obviously it's not meant to be fun. I mean, yeah, it's not meant to be like a fun haha book. It's not meant to be a romantic comedy or anything like that. But I picked up the back of the book. It's about a woman. Tabitha Walker is her name, and she is in her early to mid 30s, and she kind of has pretty much the checkbox that she's always thought she'd had by this time. She has the semi-perfect boyfriend, she has a semi-perfect job, the semi-perfect living environment, all things like that. And then she finds out that she's diagnosed with a disease that might inhibit her ability to have children. And this is the last check mark on kind of like the quartet of everything she needs to be like kind of a fully fledged adult, because she feels like once she turned 30, she turned into an adult and now she needs to become a fully fledged adult. But obviously not, but for her, having children was always part of her plan. And now that she has this kind of disease that may inhibit that, first try to see if there's a way to kind of reduce or reduce the effects of this disease so she can still have that fourth check mark and have children, as well as just kind of see what in her life has led to this disease, because it's not something that she was born with, it's not chronic, it's not something that she got, it's because of something that's self-induced. So she goes on that journey. It sounds, at first I feel like I didn't pick it up because it sounds very chick lit-y, and chick lit is no longer, I'm not sure if it ever was. I feel like at a time when I was really, really young, I used to really like a chick lit, like, who's a chick lit author from back in the day? Like a Nora Roberts? I don't know if she's a chick lit, and also I've only read 2 of her books, but like a very chick lit-y book, but Black Girl Center Stage. So that, it was kind of like, okay, it's a Black Girl Center Stage, something about kind of like just about reproductive health, which I feel like a lot of fiction books don't deal with. But also, is this something that I want to read? Is this offering anything new from all of the other books that have been written about like this similar topic? And I came to the conclusion it doesn't have to offer something new, honestly. Like, Black authors do not have to be at the cutting edge of all innovation for books. Like, there is tropes that have been used from the end of time that Black people have been excluded from. So if they want to reuse or use these tropes and have a Black female perspective on it, why wouldn't I want to read it? So I'm going to read it. I don't think I'm going to like it. I'm not going to put that on this book, but it's just not something that I like. I haven't read a chick lit book in years, but we'll see. The next book, I'm gonna talk about this book because this is the book that whenever people on the book internet always say like, oh, I am, or they have like reading books or my TBR of books I'm afraid of, I'm just like, I don't understand. What's the fear? Where are you scared? Is it a horror book? It's never a horror book. And it'll just be like a really, really long book. And I understand that, like, okay, it's a long book. So again, what are you scared of? This is an actual book like that I'm scared of. And that is My Dark Vanessa. This is an old book. I feel like this one's actually an old book. I've had it for a very long time. And 2020, okay, so it's about to be 5 years old. This is the book that I'm scared to read because I don't want it to put me into a reading slump. One, I'm not trying to go into the new year with reading slump. And two, the topics that it handles are very, very hard, heavy topics, and they come from the perspective of the victim finding out that she is a victim. Basically, this is about a girl. What is her name? Wei? I'm gonna call her Wei. Wei was a victim of a child predator when she was in high school. Her teacher preyed upon her and they had kind of like, he had a pedophilic prey on her. I don't know what the word is when you have in an unconsensual relationship. I don't want to say that because she wasn't even aware that at that age, it's like really hard. The grammar of it is really confusing me, but she was a victim of her teacher when she was 15. And finally, she is being brought to trial. I think it's like maybe 10 years later, he is being brought to trial. And a lot of things are circulating about like why he's being brought to trial. The person who is the person who is bringing him to trial and is bringing up a lot of old things that she kind of repressed because of this abuse that she went through when she was younger. And especially because when she was at that age, she did not think of it as an abuse. And even as she's grown up, she doesn't really think of it as kind of like an abusive, a predatory relationship. So it's really the conviction of her former abuser is really making her come to terms with the fact that like she was a victim, she was abused, and how and why, whether or not she wants to be part of the prosecution of this, the predator. This is very heavy because it's told, I'm pretty sure, in dual perspectives from when she was a victim in this predatory, pedophilic relationship, as well as her as a grown person now, seeing it from, not the outside looking in, but seeing it from her future self, looking at her past self. So yeah, timely, riveting, heartbreaking. This is the book I'm actually scared of, but I didn't read it. It's been 5 years. I feel like I've had this book for 5 years and I want to read it. And people say it's a mesmerizing read. Like it's really, the prose is very beautiful and I'm sure it is. I've heard only great things about it. So yeah. I get it when you people be like, I'm afraid of this or that. Similarly, Those Who Pray. This is a YA book about a girl who, I haven't been saying the authors, by Jennifer Moffett. And it is about a girl who is in her freshman year of college and she's kind of having some first year college woes where she doesn't feel like she fits in. She's not having kind of like a smooth first year college experience. And then she finds this exclusive club on campus. They invite her in and all of a sudden she has access to all these things that she didn't have access to before. She has a group of friends. She has access to upward mobility within the university. She has a potential suitor, all of these things. And then things start to feel unsafe. They start to feel not right. And she contemplates the fact or the reality that this group that she is a part of may be a cult. I adore reading about cults, as long as they're not murderous cults, honestly. As long as they're not cults that, murderous, abusive cults. I really like reading about religious fanatics, about cults, fictional cults, the mindset of what makes someone susceptible to cults. Also, I love the intersection. Like, I don't think this is like a conversation that's really had in, I don't know, when people are in the zeitgeist are talking about cults, but like the similarities I find with like cults and a lot of organized religion, that's where I feel like I really like to kind of delve into the mindset of what makes someone go into a cult, as well as what makes someone a devout kind of religious person. So I'm very interested in this. This is also a young adult. It's set in university, but it's marketed as a young adult book. So I guess the prose and everything reads a bit young adult, even though I guess it would be hard to write a young adult book about a child getting into a cult because obviously you're under the supervision of your parents, but this is not an adult book. Anyways, I'm excited to read about this. I like reading about cults. Seems like a fun time. The Unplugging. This is actually a play I got from my book club. I was gonna say Black Girls Book Club, but there's men in book club. So I got from my book club. We do a book exchange where we bring the books that we've read, and if we want to give it to someone, like we don't want to keep it, then we exchange it. So it's not a book club where we read all the same books. It's a book club where we come together and we talk about the books that we did read, and then we exchange it based on whether or not we think someone else in the book club would want to read it. This is actually a play, and this is about it's not really dystopian. It is kind of a futuristic, set in the future. It starts off where all electricity in this world just shuts off one day. So it's just just gone, and they end up in this kind of post-apocalyptic world, and they have to find ways to kind of rebuild society. So they go off into these separate ruins across the world, or across the world, and this follows one character going off into find these isolated pods where people are trying to rebuild society without electricity. It's called The Unplugging. It's by Yvette Nolan. Seems interesting. I don't read a lot of plays. It's interesting because it's a play, so it's all dialogue. I don't think I like that much. I really enjoy prose and just like kind of endless paragraphs. So we're gonna see how the story is going to be told if it's all dialogue. For some reason in my head I feel like it's gonna read like a book written in verse, but that's probably not true. The next book is a book I got from, this is actually a graphic novel, and I have no idea why I haven't read it, because multiple reasons. Dr. Nnedi Okorafor is my favorite author of all time. Let's get that out of the way. Second of all, the main character and me have the same name. Her name's Chioma. It's a graphic novel adaptation. Oh, it's a graphic novel adaptation of one of Dr. Nnedi Okorafor's other books, or one of her short story collections. Yeah, so the main character's name is Chioma, and she is a young Nigerian American, and she goes back home to Nigeria to visit her grandma, where she finds out that she has this mysterious destiny, and then her grandma so she kind of goes on this journey into the spirit world after it's revealed she has these gifts, and her grandma reveals kind of like the secrets of their family and the secrets of her destiny, and yeah, the journey that she embarks on. I never read the short story. I don't really read short story collections, even by my favorite author, ironically, but yeah, I saw this, I got this a long time ago, and I just never read it because I think it was lost in my bookshelves, but I found it, so I'm gonna read that. Another graphic novel is Graceling. Graceling is one of my favorite books from my childhood, if not like easily top 5 of my childhood. Basically, it's about this girl. She is a Graceling, which means she has a supernatural power. She's one of the most powerful people in this world, and she is I think she's the king's niece, and she's regarded as having a really, really high power. Then her power one day kills somebody, and because of that, because she kills this man at a banquet, she is kind of demoted because they want to put a shield around her powers, as well as kind of give her punishment for murdering someone. So because she becomes her uncle's bodyguard, and he goes on a quest to find out who is opposing his authority, who is opposing his rise in the ranks of this monarchy and of the political machinations of this world. She meets a boy who wants to, at the same time along this journey, find out the mystery of the disappearance of his grandfather and how that's led to kind of the falling of his family name. Those things somehow did intertwine, and she finds out actually the origins of her abilities, why she's so powerful, and how it leads to kind of like her family's reign over this world. This is the graphic novel version of the book, and that's it. I have been wanting to reread Graceling for a long time because I want to get back. The author has been re-releasing, or not even re-releasing, like writing new books in the series, and I want to get back into the series, but I do need to refresh my mind of the book, and I don't think I want to read the whole book. I think I just want to read this graphic novel and then jump into the second one, because I'll read the second one. Don't want to read the first one, second one, third one, just to get to the fifth one that was recently released. So I'm gonna do that with this one. The Overnight Guest. I am thinking that I'm slowly becoming a thriller girl. I might be slowly becoming a thriller girl. I can't be completely sure, but I think this year I've read 10 thrillers, and honestly, out of 100 books, 10 is not a lot, but from never reading a thriller for probably 5 years to reading one, I think that's a big jump for me. Anyways, this is called The Overnight Guest. It's exactly how it sounds. You know, the premise of every horror thriller movie that has ever come out, this woman for some reason goes into the isolated, desolated, snowy forest where her closest neighbor is 2 hours away, and because she writes true crime, ironic, yeah, intentional, yes. And then she finds mysterious happenings in the house, and then she finds a random kid in the snow and brings him in, and also mysterious happenings start to occur. That's literally what the back of the book. So I'm not even paraphrasing. I am bad at synopses. This is just not on me. So I want to read this and see if I am gripped. I don't think this thriller kind of prose is really my taste. The kind of Orphan Black, or the kind of like just, you know, in a cabinet in the woods somewhere and then people are knocking at your door, don't open it. I really don't like that. The last thing I've watched or read about that was Us by Jordan Peele, which I did enjoy. Oh, let's say, yeah, I'm gonna try this. It's by Heather Gudenkoff. This ironically was also on my December TBR of last year. Did I post that? No. Did I film it? Yes. It's the third book in a trilogy. This is a independently published trilogy. It's about a girl who is from, I think, Detroit. If she's not, she's from somewhere in that area, and she falls into the river one day, or some kind of body of water, and she wakes up in a different time, in a different time and in a different setting in this world, which kind of mirrors the modern world. Like the same countries exist, the same continents exist, the same kind of, yeah, same countries in a way exist. They're under different names, but the languages are the same. And she ends up in the palace of this man right here. And they don't know whether she's a witch. They don't know whether she's a seer. They don't know, but he feels the need to protect her because he's a good man and he ended up in her palace. The first book I absolutely adored. This, I think I went into it knowing or thinking that it was going to be a romance, but the first book is pretty much just a friendship between these two. And that just builds for the next two books to be so much better when it does turn into a romance. I don't think that's a spoiler. I'm pretty sure like the series, first of all books in the series got the same name. I don't know what that's about, but I'm pretty sure that's in the synopsis for the series. But when the romance does come, it just feels so rich and you've just seen it build. And this is the third book in this series. I don't want to spoil anything because it's the third book, but I got literally halfway through and then I was just like, I'm done. Just because I really feel like the series could have ended with the last book and I would have been completely fine. Even though if it ended with the last book, this is not spoiler, it's not a happy ending, I would have been completely fine. So when I picked this book up, I was already kind of done with their story and happy where it ended, but I really like these characters, so I want to be with them again. So we're going to see. I'm gonna finish it. I think I should, no, I don't need to reread the first half of this. I remember everything that happens pretty much. This book, Song of Blood and Stone, Earthsea Chronicles Book 1. I'm just reading right now that this says Book 1. This is too thick of a book to be a series, but this is a fantasy book, an epic fantasy by a Black woman, so that's why I have it. And yeah, I've had it for way too long. It's a chunker, so I think that's why I've been putting it off. But I think I'm in the mood for this kind of book again. I just had 2 5-star. I'm in the middle of what I know is going to be a 5-star read, unless the last 60 pages the author funks it. But yeah, this is about a girl named Jasminda, which is such a pretty name. And she is in this world where they are separated. They're separated by skin color, basically. So she is tired of feeling ostracized in the place that she lives because she is of a different skin color. I'm gonna pause right there because I usually hate when in fantasy worlds the authors make the world racist. I hate it and I don't. So for 2 things, I feel like, okay, they're trying to integrate the real world into this fantasy realm as well as possible. I understand that. And I like it when it's done well, but when it uses racism as kind of the plot point for their entire book, especially coming from a non-person of color, it seems not childish, lazy. It seems awfully lazy. Because if people of color did not go through the trials and tribulations in the modern world that they do, would you have a book? Ask yourself. Anyways, so that is her thing. And then something happens within her world. And in her world, there are these gods that oversee this world. So something happens, so the god is able to come down and reclaim, because they were banished, reclaim the city that they live, or the faction, the country that she lives in. While this is happening, there's kind of chaos and disarray among the people that she lives. A group of people come thinking that everything is kind of kosher, and one of them is a spy, and she ends up working with one of the spies and working against the god that came down and kind of brought disarray to her country. It sounds okay. I want to read it because it's written by a Black woman. I feel like a lot of epic fantasies aren't written by Black people, or are written by Black people, aren't published for Black people. So I would like to review this one. On that same one, I am going to reread A Song of Wrath and Ruin because I never read. Wow, this thing is really stuck on there. A Psalm of Storms and Silence. I never read this, and I can't say I remember anything in this book. And I never read this book. And these are very pretty covers. I love them. They're gorgeous. So basically, this is Roseanne E. Brown's debut book. So this is about a girl named Karina. She is a princess in the world that we are in. Her mother is suddenly assassinated, and she is just she's distraught, as you would be. And she is also still now supposed to take up the reins of her mother and be kind of the sultan, be the head of this country. So this series of games is going on, and we have Malik. Malik is the male lead, and his little sister is abducted by one of the spirits that live in this world. So he has to now go find a way to get his sister back from the spirit. But what his spirit wants is the head of Karina, the princess of this world. So in order to do that, to get his sister back, Malik enters in this contest that's offering Karina's hand in marriage for as the winner. So it's kind of this contest that happens every year. It's a festival, and he enters the contest that is supposed to grant him her hand in marriage, and then he is going to kill her. And while all this is happening, Karina is trying to resurrect her mother. So that's all going on in this book. The premise was amazing. I remember, I don't think I liked the execution as much as I thought I would. I thought this was going to be an easy favorite. It wasn't, but I am going to reread it. Maybe it'll be better on the reread, and then I'll read this one too. I realized I have a lot of chonkers in this December TBR, and am I going to get to all of these? I don't know. Another book that I started and put down, but I cannot bring myself to unhaul because I looked for this book for so long. The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. This is a sci-fi book by a Black woman. This has been part of so many TBRs, and I am in my unhauling area. If I do not read this in December, it has to go. Even though this cover is so simple, so gorgeous. It's basically about this girl. What's her name? So Kara lives in this world where there is an acknowledgement and a kind of a understanding there are multiple worlds. It's a multiverse, and every person has a counterpart in all of these multiple verses. So Kara recently gets a new job where she gets inside look into all of the multiverses. So she works for the people who kind of oversee the multiverses and oversee kind of the interactions. She sees that she is being killed off in all these other multiverses. So let's say for the 8 multiverses that she is able to see, 7 of her counterparts have been killed. Only 1 is left. So now she must travel, or she wants to travel to that multiverse, find the Kara from that multiverse, and tell her we're about to be killed, and find out why and who's trying to kill her off. I've started this book, put it down. It just was not gripping me at all, but I think it's because I'm just not getting to where it's going to be gripping. I have such high expectations for this book. Are those high expectations based on very superficial things? Yes, the cover, gorgeous, love it. It's by a Black woman, and sci-fi is my favorite genre, or one of my favorite genres. So yes, are my expectations warranted? Who knows? But if I do not finish this book this month, I will unhaul it. Like, that's a threat to myself. This book, Dreaming of You, a novel in verse. I have this habit of picking novels in verse, and I don't think I particularly love them. But here is this. So this book, Dreaming of You by Melissa Lozada Oliva, is about a girl who is just feeling lost. She's feeling lost in kind of her life, in all aspects of her life. And the only thing that kind of grounds her is her love of a celebrity, and that celebrity is Selena. So she thinks the thing that I need, what would really get me back to myself, is to bring Selena back to life. So she starts a seance to try to bring Selena back to life. And that is what this is about. It's interesting though, because all of the blurbs say that it delves really into kind of heartbreak, loss, and celebrity worship, which I think is a very interesting trifecta. I don't know what to expect about this book, but it's written in verse. So also it seems like a very complex plot to be written in verse to bring a seance to bring Selena back into life, but we'll see. This book, as you can see by the $2.99 price tag, it's called Life is Messy by Matthew Kelly. I saw this at the Goodwill, and it is an arc, or it's not an arc, it's a promotional book, but I just kind of skimming through it. I like the commentary it has on the kind of devaluation of certain human lives. I feel like I don't think the book gets into specifically where that devaluation comes from, but I feel like it's going to relate to a lot. Like, one of my favorite topics to talk about is the devaluation of the global South and lives of the global South in the Western world. It's such a commonplace thing that we hear about certain tragedies within the Western world, yet we hear about tragedies of upwards, like larger scales, and we think it's just so commonplace for those areas, even though the West is causing those tragedies. Tangent. But I like that commentary when I opened it up, and I kind of just want to see where it goes with that. It's called Life is Messy. It is. A Marvelous Light by Freya Marska. This book is about a boy who is thrust into the magical world. So he lives in the same reality that we live in, a contemporary world. He is just struggling with day-to-day life. Like, he has a lot of responsibilities on his head when it comes to kind of like his work responsibilities, where it comes to his responsibilities for his younger siblings, and he is trying to just deal and grapple with that. Something happens, he makes a mistake, he ends up being thrust into the magical world where he did not know existed. This is not a magical world that he's usually existed in, so now he must deal with kind of being thrust and being given a high position in this magical world, and what comes with that. There's also a curse, so he is thrust into this magical world. He finds that his predecessor in this new position that he has in the magical world died under mysterious circumstances, and there's also a curse that he has to grapple with. Some people that I like blurbed it. That's a lie, actually. A lot of people whose books I don't like. First of all, TJ Klune blurbed it on the front. Despite the fact that I've read maybe three TJ Klune books, not an author that I actually like his books, honestly. Jen Lyons DNF'd her only book. A.K. Larkwood DNF'd their only book. Alexandra Rowland may become one of my favorite authors after this month. So I don't know. But yeah, have that one. Son of Storm by Suyi Davies Okongboa. And I think that I've had this book since it came out. This is an interesting drawing. I'm pretty sure I got it secondhand. So this book is about a boy who's about to rise in the ranks of the cities. He's known as like a really good student, really good worker. He's about to rise in the ranks, except he does not want to. In this city, it's kind of closed off from the rest of the world. If there is a rest of the world, the people in the city do not know. They kind of live in not encampment, but in an isolated world. In my head, I liken it to Toddy Thompson's Rosewater in the Dome, but I'm pretty sure it's not a dome. They just live very isolated. So this boy, he's about to rise up in the ranks. He doesn't want that life, but he's going to get it because it's the best thing for him, as well as he has nothing else to do. But on his free time, he likes to kind of really engage in the stories of what could possibly be on the outside, what happened before him, what could happen after, the myths of his world. One day he stumbles on a warrior who's wielding magic. Magic is not supposed to exist. Whether it's something of the past or whether it's something that's outlawed, we don't know, but it's not supposed to exist. And it tempts him to go outside of the walls, or kind of like the barriers of the isolation, and see what's there. And the people who come to this isolated city, they are sworn to secrecy. So they can't say anything about what's outside to the people who are born and raised or from the inside world. So the warrior that he meets that sees wielding magic, they kind of become entrenched in their worlds become intertwined, and now he is at the center of kind of like the mystery of what's going on outside, some conspiracies, curses, things of that nature. This seems like it's based on West African mythology, which is what made me want to read it. It's also very long. It's epic fantasy. I fell out of love with kind of like really, really long epic fantasies at a point at the end of 2023, which is exactly around the time, like right after I got this book. So I'm going to read it this month. This one, if I don't read it this month or don't finish it this month, it's not up for unhaul because I haven't had it for that long, and also I'm not about to unhaul a Nigerian author. And this is The Warlord by Gina Showalter. Gina Showalter is my favorite kind of mass market paperback paranormal romance authors. And, you know, that should really tell you all I need to tell you about kind of like her genre of books. Basically, we have whether the female main character or the male main character is paranormal. One of this paranormal, they're part of this broader world that follows the characters in one of their inner circles across multiple books. And I finished Gina Showalter's Lords of the Underworld series, which is one of my favorite just mass market paperback paranormal series. Like quick reads, love them to death. Characters are fun, so funny, so diverse. I think there's like 50-11 books in that series, but she makes them all very different. This is a spin-off series, and I want to get into it because I love those books. They're great palate cleansers for me because it's like a genre that I can get through really quick. I'm really engrossed in the story. But I got like a third or a fourth of the way in it. I'm like, this is just not as good as a series. And I was like, what's going on, Gina? But I'm going to try to finish this because if I don't, I need to unhaul it. I am actually unhauling so many of Gina Showalter's books just because I'll just talk about that in my own haul, but I'm about to run out of battery. But those are the books I'm going to be reading in December. I would like to get through all of them. That's why they're my TBR. Let me know what you think of them, if you read them, if you think I'm gonna like them, if you think I should just unhaul them right now and not bother, let me know, because I'm very susceptible to impressions right now. Thank you guys for watching.